I was speaking to Gedalia, and he asked me to pass regards on to you, which I forgot. So belatedly, I'm passing regards to you.
No, please give back.
Yes, yes, indeed.
I hope it's okay.
It sounds very positive, but we know the situation is not.
Again?
No.
Again?
No.
No.
Another friend.
Somebody else.
So using American. So using American money?
Yeah.
Okay, so shalom, everybody. I'm not feeling 100%. Thank you.
There's a lot of it going around.
Yeah, so that's nice.
Different levels.
So my wife said, "Don't go." I said, "No, I can't not go. This is important." So,
Welcome back.
huh? Yeah.
Yeah. And you should also have lemon. If someone's got lemon.
Okay, but please, thank you. Okay.
Okay, so on behalf of all of us, thank you for coming.
Yeah. Amen. Amen.
This is the last class before.
Last class before Pesach, 5778. So, the holidays are openings to higher levels. They're liftoffs. And we want to know how to utilize that to really get the most. To lift off and then to bring down what needs to be brought down for ourselves and for the world. Confusing time we're living in. The pace of things is just beyond the way things are moving, the complexity of life. So, there's an oasis inside us that we can enter into and take strength from there in order to come back out into our lives, to our stories, our dramas, and to play our parts better, more powerfully. Somebody wrote me, said he sent me an article about people who are very sensitive and who are empaths, and who get hurt easily and who are constantly bumping into things and the world bumps into them. And he said, I feel like such a miskin. I feel like so sorry for myself. I just can't get along in this world. I don't know who I am, what my soul is. So I said, Ashrecha, happy are you. You are among who are privileged to be oversensitive. And what needs to be done is not to take you out of your sensitivity, but to give you the tools to utilize your sensitivity, to utilize it in its highest form. Mankind is, I don't know, I shouldn't generalize, but being sensitive is more difficult. There's no question about it. You suffer more. Things go in and they, your relationships, when somebody says something to you, you sometimes you can't even forget about it for weeks. Whatever it is, whatever any particular sensitivities that we have. But it's not to get rid of them, it's to refine them, it's to grow to mature them. So the holidays are really openings from heaven, almost like it's described in the Zohar and as almost like just like in Star Trek, as you enter into a light beam, and I should have brought it in. it really does describe a light beam that beams you up. And when what you get at the next level up, you get that, on the metaphor of the going up the mountain, you see more of the valley beneath. You see from a higher perspective. You see your life. You understand much, much more who's in charge and why things are happening. Maybe not the ultimate whys, the why of things, but you understand more, and you understand that you're being given a mission, that you're a neshama, that you're a soul. And you come back down after the holiday. You try and come back down with something, just like Moshe. The paradigm is Moshe comes down with the Torah. Something that it's a divine teaching of God's mind, of God's plan for creation. It's dressed up in stories, as we've been learning through the Yosef story, the Moshe story. But within the stories are these amazingly profound messages to us. So the holidays are these contact points, these entry points into a deeper relationship with our soul, with Hashem, with our life. They say the difference between Shabbat and the Yom Tov is that on the holidays we say Baruch Atah Hashem Mikadesh HaShabbat v'Yisrael v'Hazmanim, or Mikadesh HaShabbat v'Yisrael v'Yom HaKippurim, Mikadesh HaShabbat v'Yisrael v'Yom HaZikaron. Blessed are you, Hashem. You sanctify the Shabbat. You elevate the Shabbat above the mundane, and you also sanctify Israel, and through them you sanctify the holidays. Why is Israel stuck in between Shabbat and the holidays?
Well, at least on one level, is because we have a say in when the Chag actually falls out. Where Shabbat happens automatically by itself. Hashem has set up that eternally fixed.
Yefé. So Avraham says, and by the way, Talia, I'm going to stop and you're going to ask your question. And shalom. And I did it. I'm so proud of myself. Okay, so where are we?
We're proud of you too.
So, so Shabbat is kind of it's already established. It's irrespective of us. The Shabbat comes in. Always old man who's like says to Hashem, I just got a little bit more to do than Shabbat. Give me a little time, and then realize, what am I doing? Shabbat's coming. That's what I want. And that's the great Shabbat also. Give us a little more time. We have to make the world better. No, bring the Shabbat in. It's not going to take away from us. In other words, Shabbat comes in irrespective. Don't try and stop it from coming in. Yomim Tovim, the holidays, are more dependent on our perception of the moon, and our sanctification of the moon. So Yisrael has to come in between so that we sanctify time through the moon and the lunar cycle. There's something above us. That's a simple explanation, but it's interesting that Pesach is Yom Kippur is also called Shabbat Shabbaton. Yom Kippur is also called Shabbat Shabbaton, and Pesach is called Miyom. As it's called in the verse, L'machorat Shabbat. That the day after Shabbat starts the counting of the Omer, and it's after Shabbat. It's after Pesach. So Pesach is called Shabbat. So it's not like this delineation, this is this and this is that. Everything has an aspect of something else. The Shabbat has an aspect of all the holidays, and the holidays have an aspect of Shabbat. The difference now being that Shabbat comes from above, and the aspect of Shabbat in Passover, Kippur, and all of them from above, and washes over us, and anoints us, and lifts us up. And the aspect of Yom Tov in Yom Tov, the aspect of holiday in holiday, is our job, what we need to do in order to make the vessel to receive it. So there's in the Passover Haggadah that I did, so I have a long essay called Laila Kayom Ir, which is based on a verse in Psalm 139. It's a night that shines like the day. Which is the rabbis describe as happening on Little Pesach. It's a night that shines like the day. It's a Shabbat in the sense that it comes down and it shines into the darkness of this world, irrespective of us. Yes, there's a Yom Tov aspect to it, but the salient, the dominant thing of Shabbat, of Pesach, is its aspect that it comes down. So you have statements to the effect, this is all an introduction to things that we're going to talk about. You have statements on the awesome and powerful light that shines from above every year of Pesach, that comes from Ein Sof through Keter and Chochmah, and finally through Bina. Bina is the time, eternity. She is called the Supernal Mother. The 50th year, the 50th gate, the world of thought, the world of freedom. So this is a text from a student of the Maggid of Mezrich. Then you have the text that we're going to learn, which I'll skip over for the moment. You have Rabbi Nachman. On Pesach night, God's infinite light shines with a great illumination. It was because of this great original redemption occurred. We mentioned that God's infinite light shines down in the most powerful way on the first night of Pesach each year. The whole point of it shining down is to receive it, to allow it to permeate, to be lifted up in it, to be embraced. The moments that we're doing the Pesach Seder, the moments leading from the first cup to the second cup, and all the story in between, and then the washing of the hands. A very important moment in the Pesach Seder. Anybody who's leading a Seder or is part of the, tell everybody before you wash your hands, we're going to do it special this year, everybody. We're going to wash our hands, say Netilat Yadayim, lift up our hands, right? Which means lift up our actions, to our forehead and our eyes. We're sanctifying our hands by connecting them to our deepest will, so that when they go back down, they're going to be emissaries of the King, of Hashem's will. Then we're going to come back to, we're going to take 3 matzot in our hands. In the middle one is going to be broken, and the bottom one is flat, whole, and the top one's whole. And we're going to say a bracha, hamotzi lechem min haaretz, and then drop the bottom one. Right? There's an order. It's all in the Haggadah. You drop the bottom one. Let's see if I put it in my Haggadah. Page. You can take here, and you can use them during the class. Take one, use them in the class. You can decide if you want them at the end. Okay, page 82. Behold, I'm prepared and ready to fulfill the mitzvah of eating matzah for the sake of the revelation of the unity of He and His indwelling presence, with awe and in love, to unify the letters Yud and He with Vav and He, in the complete unity. Page 82, don't worry, just get there whenever you can. In the name of all Israel, may Hashem, our God's pleasantness flow down upon us. May He establish our endeavors in heaven and eternity, and may He establish our endeavors in this world. Blessed, infinite source of blessing are you. Blessed, infinite source of blessing are you, Hashem, our God, King of the universe, who extracts bread from the earth. Place the bottom whole matzah on your plate. So, and to do what we just did, we had the 3 matzot. Now we put the bottom whole matzah on your plate, and while holding the top whole matzah and the middle broken matzah, Baruch atah Hashem Elokeinu melech haolam asher kiddushanu b'mitzvotav v'tzivanu al achilat matzah, who in order to sanctify us with His commandments and instructed us regarding the eating of matzah. Break off a kazait from the top whole matzah and a kazait from the middle matzah, and while reclining to your left, the entire amount within 4 to 7 minutes. So now, or maybe 4 to 9 minutes. So you're sitting there, and you're putting some in your mouth and you're chewing. Look around. Everybody's doing the same thing, supposedly. We're not talking. Put a little bit more in. You can dip it in salt or whatever. Some people have to dip it in something liquid to soften it up a little bit. Mm-hmm. Look. Just like, hello, this is the craziest thing in the whole world that we're doing. We're chomping on this stuff. It's very hard to eat, but this is like really good. It's a mitzvah d'oraita. We're eating Torah. We're eating a mitzvah, right?
That's beautiful.
We're eating this amazing bread, which is, it's so hard, but it's so important to just be there when you're doing it, to be present. So for me, it's the highest moments of the Passover Seder, and I'm just sharing it with you. Just really, just take advantage of it. Without talking, take 1 kazayit of maror, dip a small portion of it in charoshet, shake off the excess charoshet and bless, and then without reclining, eat it. Now on page 83, break off a kazayit of the third bottom whole matzah, and combine it with a kazayit of maror, making a sandwich now. And all of this is going to take at least 15 minutes. And it's best to do it. So that's why I after I eat my matzah and everybody's doing their thing, I go and I give out enough chasa, which is what we use in our house. We also have some horseradish there, freshly, because even though we're not Ashkenazi, but it's cool. It's very cool to have
Make your eyes water.
That's the one thing it is.
Yeah.
It's very hot. That's true.
So you're passing out, and that's my job. I love my jobs. Passing out, giving everybody a few, whatever, a portion of romaine lettuce, and then the next part, and again, is with minimum amount of talking. For me, it's become so joyous to be able to do that we all dance together this dance, and we're doing something, whether we understand it or not. We're doing something very important. It's certainly an physical, tactile, powerful drama. We're just doing, not talking about it. We're not outside of it. We're inside of it at that point. The whole thing has been building up that we actually do this. So, what I wanted to share with you about that. Now,
Do you tell the little children who are there that quietly?
oh, so I mean, everything up explaining and whatever needs to be explained and having the fun to do it with each other together. Great to all ages, all of us are children.
That's true.
The Gaon of Vilna on page 52, in case anybody has it, before we go to our text. Page 52. What's the difference between this night and all other nights? It's known that the word yom, day, is a masculine noun, whereas the word Laila is feminine. In addition, zeh, it says halayla hazeh. Zeh is masculine. It's masculine for this. This, while zot would be a feminine word, it would be halayla hazot. If so, the grammatically proper this night would have been halayla hazot, where the author of the wrote halayla hazeh, thus attaching the normally masculine zeh to the normally feminine Laila. So the Gaon of Vilna is going to say that's because what Rabbi Nachman said and all the others are saying is a great light shines down into the world. Masculine light, quote unquote, shines down into the feminine world, into earth, and the meeting of feminine and masculine, and the uplifting of the masculine into one total unity. So that's what this night, the potential of this night on the inside level for each one of us, for Israel in totality, for the world. We're doing it also on the spiritual level for all the worlds. So whatever you can open yourself up to as you're doing this stuff, it becomes more and more. And it doesn't hurt to have a little bit of wine.
If you like it.
Okay, so here we are. Oh, you don't get drunk on this wine. This is not drinking. This is called Bina wine, not wine that's mishaker, yain mishaker. It's yain hamesameach, which is olam haba wine, the world to come. It's a Gemara in Brachot 36b, 34b, where it says that there's something called Hayayin Hamar Ba'anavav Misheshet Mei Bereshit, the wine that is preserved in its grapes from the 6 days of creation. It's a very beautiful expression. The wine that is preserved in its grapes since the 6 days of creation. Wow. So the rabbis say that this is the wine that we're going to drink at the transition from this world into the next world. The wine that's going to completely lift us up into Bina and no longer just whatever. We can do it now in miniature, but that major transition is going to be built on all our miniatures. We go up in this world and we come down. In the next world, all the get together, and it's a constant up. This world has to have downs following every up, every ascent. That's the way it is. That's why we learn. That's how we learn. But the point is that our aliyot, our ascents are meaningful, and even if they're followed by a descent, the ascent was an important part in the totality of who we are for all time and for all eternity. So the way that, again, the sages, the Mikubalim, look at these things, the prophets, is that this world, every second of this world is precious. The more consciousness we bring to this world, to the actions, the more we are creating Olam Haba consciousness in this world. The Ohev Yisrael was Rabbi Avraham Yeshua Heschel of Apt, one of the great tzaddikim, who's probably basically a second generation after the Baal Shem Tov. Third generation. He was a student of Rabbi Elimelech of Lezhinsk. These were amazing men, and they lived on their level. I think I wrote in my email today that his dates, basically in the 1830s, are in that area. So it's about the particular text of the 5 rabbis sitting in Bnei Brak. You've read it already, perhaps you've heard it, but for me, whenever I learn it, I always get something new from it, so I hope you will also. So first of all, there's a note down at the page on these singular pages, where it says, in the passage in the Haggadah immediately preceding this passage, we read, the more one goes great lengths to recount the Exodus from Mitzrayim, the more praiseworthy he is. So the saper certainly means to recount, to communicate, to tell. To tell a story is the saper sipur. Also, the saper, which is the source of the English sapphire, means to shine. And this becomes a key to this whole thing of the light that shines down on Leil Pesach. It's the word that, with its double meaning, becomes, we're not just telling about the Exodus from Egypt, just recounting it. We are, through our words, we are causing it, or let's say, even if we're not causing it, we're channeling it down. It is a light. We do down here, our part in it is to shine it on, so to speak, is to feel this light inside of us. We started, I think, 4 weeks ago to do the meditation on the burning bush, the burning bush meditation. I'd like you to do it tonight, because we're the burning bush, and we're surrounded and permeated by light. So we usually see ourselves and experience ourselves as the bush. But when we go inside and we start to feel that sometimes more, sometimes less, no question about it. There's no one single experience here. But then the bush, so to speak, the physicality of the bush feeds into the background, and the foreground becomes light. The light inside your forehead, the light inside of your brain, the light of the electrical system of your body shining out from the inside. So on Passover, the main things that we're doing here, of all the actions that we're doing, the main thing we do is the words, the Haggadah. So there is the word Haggadah, lagi, to tell over, to recount, in Lissaper. But as I said, Lissaper has a second meaning. If the directive would have been Hasipur, to recount the story, limited its meaning by using the verb Lissaper alone, which is Kol Hamarbe Lissaper B'Yitziat Mitzrayim. Again, it should be in more modern Hebrew, Lissaper et Hasipur, right, to tell the story of. But when it's Lissaper B'Yitziat Mitzrayim, it's a secret formula. L'saper b'yitziat Mitzrayim, to shine, to be illuminated in the light of the Exodus from Egypt. The light that shone then is shining now, and we saper it. We shine it down. So let's go now into the story of the 5 rabbis, which comes immediately after that. Rabbi Eliezer, Rabbi Yoshua, Rabbi Eliezer, Rabbi Yeshua, Rabbi Elazar ben Azariah, Shayu Mesubin v'Bnei Brak, shining in Bnei Brak. And can anybody remember when this is and what's going on all around them? The Romans had destroyed the temple 70 years earlier. Bar Kokhba has already been defeated and killed. The Romans have stamped out, are killing all the rabbis. Anybody who teaches Torah, Rabbi Akiva next in line is going to be killed for teaching Torah in public. So for them to keep a Pesach Seder is a revolt against and it's punishable by death. And of course, they're not going to not do it. So they're sitting there, these 5 rabbis. Reclining at the Seder in Bnei Brak. And they were doing exactly what the previous passage had said. They were misaprim, shining in the Exodus light. The recounting and thereby drawing down the illumination of the light of the Exodus from Egypt throughout that entire night, until their disciples came and said to the masters, the time for the recital of Kriyat Shema Shel Shachrit, the morning declaration of Hashem's oneness, has arrived. So it's a simple passage in a sense. As I say here, they were in a cellar underground celebrating the Pesach Seder in defiance of the Roman edict, according to which the participants in any gathering were liable the death penalty. So in a cellar underground is not known generally, or not everybody might agree with me, but it's the version of the story that I hold is most appropriate. And in an underground cellar with no light coming in from inside.
And that's what they did all the time.
So on the surface, that's why they didn't know, and the students had to come in and tell them that it's morning. You guys been here all night. And so it's like I learned a few things from this. One of them is that they were not just talking all night. They went into a groupation. They ascended together. This is not just words. They were being mesaper in the secondary meaning. Perhaps that was the primary thing, is we need to bring down the light because the Roman exile is going to be heavy on our people. We need to bring down the light that shone on the first Passover, which last week we said itself comes from the future, which itself comes from the original light that Hashem hid. We need to bring that light down into this night. And that's why they were in Mesaper Kol Oto HaLaila, which is a masculine Oto Laila. All that night they were Mesaper, they were drawing down the light so that Am Yisrael would be able to maintain its existence. And
so they're not done that, we might not be sitting here.
So that's what the
And they were in a cellar, or they were actually in their homes?
No, they were in the cellar. That's how I'm seeing it. So then the rabbi here says, Bnei Brak. Why does it say that they were in Bnei Brak? What does it matter? Hen emet sheshema makom hayakach. True, that's the name of the place. Ach im kol ze tzrich lavin hatam. Lama nesvu yachad dafka b'oto makom. That's the name of the place, Bnei Brak. And today the same name, the same place. Exactly, lights flashing, lightning flashes. Beautiful, exactly. That's how I saw it too. So, but we have to understand the reason why they got together, precise place. L'saper sham b'yitziat Masayim, to recount there the miracles of the Exodus from Egypt. So when I saw the next few words, that's what I felt was very sensitive here, the sensitive soul of this incredible rabbi, and getting us to be sensitive to what he's trying to be sensitive to. In other words, he wrote down the words. I always imagined that when they wrote, they wrote and they thought, and they wrote and thought. And as they wrote, they brought their thought into their writing. And then the words died on the page. And they knew it. The words on the page could only communicate so much, such a little bit of what they thought. And a little bit that what they thought was even only a little bit of the thought that they were trying to channel. They were very much into channeling divine wisdom. So when it says here, Ubeha'ir lev, and with the arousal of the heart, Visum sechel, and the concentration of mind. Sum sechel. Now today we say sim lev. Pay attention. Sim lev. Sim sechel. Give me your sechel. Direct, focus yourself, because what I'm about to say here is not just, it's not mivuzar, it's not all over the place. It's very specific what I'm saying. Get it, I need you to be there with me. The arousal of the heart and focus of the mind. Yesh lomar, there is to say that that those holy teachers hitbonenu v'natnu libam el hagalut hamar hazeh, they deeply and set their hearts to understand this bitter exile that was gaining power then and continues to gain power with each passing day. Natnu libam el hagalut hamar hazeh u'mitgaber b'chol yom. They paid it. They contemplated and they set their heart to the exile, the bitter exile that is continuing and becoming more and more powerful each day. So I saw something in those words also. There's a mixture of past and present. He's going back to the rabbis back then, but he's using present tense words, which means that he's writing this also, that I'm trying to do this also because I'm in Europe. I'm in Opt, wherever Opt is, in the Ukraine or near the Ukraine or whatever. And the reality is that I feel connected to these 5 rabbis. I feel their souls. I feel that they're telling us something that we need to do in our time. They wanted to do something, and so also I want to do something. That we, the Jewish people, would not sink into oblivion, God forbid, into the depths of the klipot, and the depths of the shells. So I write down my thought. He switches from speaking about Egyptians or Romans and refers directly to klipot, the forces that operate behind and through these civilizations. They're called klipot, empty shells, because they have no existence of their own. This is also why he used the present tense verb, holech u'mitgaber, to describe not only how the Roman power was gaining during the power during the time of Akiva and his colleagues, his time, mentioned in our time. So that's what I mean. The sensitivity of the text is to really feel that he wants to give us, through pulling down the light of Pesach, he wants to give us a way of dealing with the darkness, an inside way of dealing with darkness, the dark Egypt. I mentioned today to Moshe that just the Torah has these like stories. It's of Exodus with Ve'ele shemot b'nei Yisrael haba'im Mitzrayma et Yaakov ish ubeto ba'u. I never got to Italia. I'm so sorry. Okay, we'll get to it. Don't forget. These are the names of the children of Israel who are coming to Egypt. Present tense. Haba'im Mitzrayim, who are coming to Egypt with Yaakov, each man in his household. So the Baal Shem Tov, the Ari, and also the Baal Shem Tov both say that you can read, instead of Ve'ele Shemot, these are the names, you can read Ve'ele HaNishamot, these are the souls of the children of Israel who are coming down into this world which is called Egypt with Yaakov. They're not coming down with Israel. They're the children of Israel, but they're only coming down with a minimum level of spirituality just to get them here and maintain their existence. But they work to get the Yisrael level. But they coming down with a certain heavenly assistance called Yaakov, each one in his.
Meaning all of us currently throughout time?
So that verse then becomes not just a verse that describes something that happened then, because the present tense verbs, Haba'im Mitzrayim, who are coming to Egypt, these are the souls who are constantly coming into this world in with a certain level of spirituality called Yaakov, but it's not the highest level. So there's going to be tests, it's going to be difficult, but if they develop their Yaakov, then they're going to get to the quality of Yisrael through their own efforts. But the point is that it's describing our descent into this world. The Roman and the Egyptians and all that falls away into the background, and we're in a spiritual, where our souls have come down into this world. And our job is to awaken within the drama of this world. And that's what the prophets try to do for us and help us to do. That's what the Torah is about. It's hidden, but when you start to bring it out, you see that that's the power of the Kabbalah, of the received tradition from Sinai, which is in the Midrash. It's everywhere, but you need somebody to alert you to it, is that it gives you of living the Torah, of understanding your life within the framework of what the Torah gives you. And that there is darkness, but you have power of light. There are difficulties, but you have the power to respond to those difficulties. You're not a of things, because the Torah gives you that extra thing which has many names. Bina, Dot. It gives you, even if at the moment when the test is happening, when that person is saying something to you which bothers you and your emotions are flaring, or hurt, right? It might be that you might not be able to get back to your center moment in the very moment when it's happening. You might have to do it in retrospect, but you have that retrospect. You can know that in the end, after everything is said and done, everything that has ever happened to us was somehow to teach us, to make us better than who we could have been otherwise. Avraham was tested to become Avraham. Yitzhak was tested. Yaakov was tested to become Yisrael. Yosef was tested. Moshe was tested. The testing is not to squash us. The testing is to build us. So that paradigm shift, that life is difficult and we come into this world. Some of us more sensitive than others, and some whatever. All of us, to some degree, wounded in some way or another. Nobody can escape it. And instead of complaining and feeling bitter and complaining about how our parents ruined us and all that stuff, and our schools were no good, and our trip is the true psychological healing that we need, which is to come into higher contact with our own soul. Anybody want to say anything?
I want to say that I myself actually woke myself up from certainly a long time. But I've actually woke myself up into not allowing, it's actually quite amazing, not allowing the junk of society to break me. They did, but don't let them.
Awesome.
And I actually kicked garbage, something that's left me, whatever. I actually kicked garbage out, cleaning the house and cleaning outside. But I kicked garbage at that person while I was, I had to clear the because I want to make the whole clean. And stuff down and, whatever. But I actually managed to kick garbage. He wanted to talk to me, but he was hurting me before. And I actually managed to kick garbage in the direction, and it made me feel like, wow, I could stand.
You can stand up against somebody who wants to hurt you.
Them to break me. That's
okay. Awesome.
It's from Torah. It's like from Shirim like this, and from really amazing people. That's
okay. Thank you.
Thank you.
Yes.
So a few things that you said kind of connected me to a question, and that is that if connecting to our and connecting to our soul can give us an inner power to bring light into the drama that is since in this present world. But then at the same time, a few minutes ago, you spoke about, and this I find very prevalent in my life, where you'll have moments in which you're doing certain actions that get you connected to a certain level, and then at other times you can not be feeling it at that same level. What does somebody do if they've mapped certain practices, certain thoughts, certain things to connect to that self, and then that elicits certain I don't want to say revelation, but elicits certain clarity, but then you hit a point where those same things seem to not be eliciting that same clarity. What do you do?
Well, if I understand you properly, somewhat, something that works for you sometimes doesn't work at other times. It has gotten you to a place of clarity, whatever we're talking about, some kind of process that you go through, but it doesn't always work, or is that more or less it, or
more of it works, and then I will hit a certain wall and then have to like readjust somehow, and I'm trying to understand what that is. Does that mean that I should be readjusting completely and trying to find something else, or to continue doing those things but trying to add something else on? If it's just a normal part of the relationship of trying to get to know.
That's beautiful.
Well, we're all young and we're all learning, and we have all these amazing opportunities to learn more. I'm not, since we're not talking specifics here, so then my answer can't be specific. I can't, if you want to share it perhaps privately, but tricks in this thing here. There's just work, and work does produce results. Not always immediate, but it does. I know how the inner life works is a whole mystery. One of us has to navigate, and there are certain things that I've learned along the way, but I don't feel I can say it, except if we would what the heck you're talking about. So then I could respond more, but in the class, so I could just say that there's going to be times when something has worked in the past and it's not going to work right now. It may still be, whatever it is, whatever I'm making to be able to be connected to my core. You're not saying, so I can't really answer any better right now. So, but to get what do you want? Does anybody else understand the question better?
I think it's a matter of steps. You take all these different steps, and then you hit a plateau, and then from that plateau you got to revamp or regrow. Revamp,
recalibrate.
Okay. That's better. Reset, maybe.
Reset,
and then you go higher. And so you're always going to get these plateaus, and you're always going to be able to get higher. That's how life is. So when you're your age, obviously you're starting your advancement, and then you're going to hit some walls, a plateau, and then you're going to
just wait till you get married.
Yeah.
Wait till you have children. Yeah.
And children.
Teenagers. Teenagers. Yeah, what's it?
Awesome.
So I can explain it.
It's
I'm
joyous.
going to tell Esther on you.
Joyous.
Is this similar to kind of like when the Anshe Knesset got together and got rid of like the power of like Avodah Zarah? Is it like they kind of are doing a tikkun for everybody through doing this work because they were like just a klali thing that's gonna lessen the power of something to.
Wait, I mean, where are you coming from?
From
Please.
right here, it says these when they got
Oh.
together in this reading.
Okay, back into the text. No, wait a second. I can only deal with one thing at a time. Back into the text. Are these rabbis, these 5 rabbis, are they? They're
They were the
certainly.
Gedolei Dor of the
They were
time.
the greatest sages of the generation. They know that the situation is They know that the situation for Am Yisrael is dire. It's dire. We're about to be exiled to the 4 corners of the world. The similar teaching about Hanukkah, which actually happened prior to this, is that we light at the door and have the light shine out of our houses into the street. And the teaching there is that it has to shine all the way until Mashiach, because we're not going to get miracles, going to be revealed miracles to many. We're going to get hidden miracles. So here too, the same idea, but in a different setting, is that they're in a cellar and they're trying to bring down this light for Am Yisrael for the duration of the Roman exile, because we have a tradition. There's going to be 4 major exiles. It's in Daniel, and then Daniel by heart, and it's all throughout tradition. Even in the 2nd verse of the Torah, by Aratzai Torah Bo B'Choshech, represents the 4 exiles. Avraham, with his Brit Ben Bitarim, Hashem hinted him of exiles. Yaakov, the ladder, the princes, the angelic princes going up, each one going up, the 4th prince going up and not coming down, the 4th Rome, the 4 impure animals that we're not allowed to eat because they only have one sign of kashrut but not the other. The first 3 all have regurgitation, they all have regurgitation but no split hooves. The 4th one always is different. It's different. The 4th one is the pig, again representing the Roman exile. So the Roman exile is different. It's powerful. As Daniel describes it, the 4th animal, the 4th beast, will be more destructive than anything else. It's going to be a great, difficult, long, drawn-out test. And actually, the Bnei are based on the Maral said that the fourth exile will have 3 parts. It'll have the Babylonian, corresponding to the Babylonian exile. It'll have the Persian, corresponding to the Persian. And it'll have the Greek, corresponding to the Greek. Now, the Roman exile will be a complex composite of all 3 that existed. And Egypt was also a composite before all of them happened, as a prototype that would have all the elements of all the future exiles. So the way it works, that they saw that the Roman exile was a serious thing to deal with, and Am Yisrael could get to maintain its existence and to maintain its connection, because everything's going to try and attack us from the inside. So whatever the relationship is to the Anshe Knesset, the GEULAH, but in their days they were that. They were great sages of the generation. And so we but again, there's no it has an application down into each one of our lives. So even though you and I are not, all of us are not here, the great rabbis of the generation, but the level of consciousness that we're seeking is a responsibility for our people and for the world is surfacing in our generation with a lot of people. And so why not us also? That we also want to live our lives for our world. It's going to make it a better world. It's already part of the modern consciousness. We want to make a better world. But the Torah gives us the inner work to do. Paraduma, for instance, that we had on Shabbat, that we read last Shabbat, not a week and a half ago, has an inner level that, if I think I mentioned it, all the mitzvot, whatever they are, they have an inner dimension of God consciousness. That when you do the mitzvah, either before, during, or after, you want to connect to that level of it. That you're not doing anything. You're just trying to bring down into the world and to be a vessel and a channel into it for something greater. And yes, there'll be moments of understanding, of greater understanding that we get from the Ari and the Baal Shem Tov and the Ramchal and the Gra and all these amazing teachers. They lived in order to give us some inkling of the incredible magnitude of the story that we're part of. But even if we don't get that, the fact that we're doing it for that higher purpose, that we're trying to lift our lives up to that higher level. I know that's just words, and I hope that it's a little bit more, because I'm putting. I also don't always feel it. In a sense, I'm a coach. We're in the locker room, and I'm revving you guys up to go out into the game. What role is the coach playing? He's psyching the guys up, right? He's psyching his team up. They're going to go out there and they're going to be stronger when they're playing their game. What is that? Well, that's what I'm trying to do. That's what rabbis are really, their job is. Us up. What does that mean in not modern logic? Imbue us with the ability to handle more, to be better players on the field, because with his consciousness, he's now, we're taking that out into the field. We have an extra sixth sense on the field because the coach has impacted us with the way he sees things, whether it's a basketball game or a football game or a soccer game or whatever, right? Just thought I'd use that as a metaphor. So I'm psyching you up.
Wouldn't it also be a little bit that it's also like giving you to believe in yourself, that you can connect? Absolutely,
he's giving us chizuk to believe in ourselves, that we're part of something great. So let's go back into it a little bit of time. We're doing well with time, and we'll have another time to open up for conversation. With this, they looked deeply with the holy and pure eye of their mind. The Hebrew lezeh histaklu, they looked be'ein sichlam, the eye of their mind, hakadosh v'azach, it's pure and it's refined. Behevina, and they understood ha'inyan, the matter, oto halayla, shal yitziat Mitzrayim, they understood the ancient tradition that the great light of Mochin the Gadlut shone so powerfully on that first Exodus night. I added that, but that's what it's saying. Now, they understood that on that night of Yetziat Mitzrayim, of the Exodus from Egypt, which is a concept, the Exodus from Egypt, Yetziat Mitzrayim is a concept that appears 50 times. You'll see that. There's 50. Let me find that for you. It's on page 27. The top of that section is on page 26. Bina, Ima, 8, and 50. And I go into what the symbolic meaning of the numbers 8 and 50 is. And then on page 28 and 29, I list the different code words for this type of light. So just before number 1, it says the above text example of how the Torah Kabbalah system works. Once we understand that Yovel, the 50th year, parallels or embodies the upper hay of Havai, as well as Bina and Ima, we have the beginning of a system. In fact, the system of the Zohar is called the system of Kinuyim. Kinuyim meaning code words. Here are some of the main Kinuyim of Bina. The first upper hay of Havaya, the name Ekia, and that are written here. Olam Haba, also a code word for Bina. Bina, the word Bina itself, the ability to understand one thing from another, from many. To put things together and to see them in their whole. Ima Ila, a supernal mother, the great eagle that hovers over her children. The canopy of peace, Sukkot Shalom. Hashem's talit, his prayer shawl, representing his overall providence that leads history to its ultimate rendezvous. Tshuva is interesting. You can read that. Purim, Yom Kippurim, Shofar Gadol, Yovel, Jubilee, the freedom of the 50th year. Mishim Hasharei Bina, the 50th year. Noam, the supernal pleasantness. Page 30, Yetziat Mitzrayim. The Exodus from Egypt. The concept of Yetziat Mitzrayim is mentioned 50 times in the Torah. So at the bottom I have the footnote that the Gra and the Ramak both say that it's mentioned more than 50 times. So the answer is that it depends on context. Some of these are clearly not included in the count of 50. Or we can say that it's a completely symbolic number, that the word Yitzrayim might appear more than 50 times, but it represents the concept of 50. We can also say that Zohar didn't mean this literally, that it occurs 50 times. Rather, that, as we see here, Yetziat Mitzrayim is a code name, a symbolic designation for that level that not only transcends human action, but which frees from the possibility, the consequences of descending into a lower world in which, unlike in heaven, man can do wrong and therefore must suffer the consequences of his actions. In other words, Bina lifts us up above consequences. It says, I understand that I myself have created the various different chests of this world. And I've done it for your good, but sometimes I need to lift you up above them to give you an olam, a taste of olam haba. And that's called Yetziat Mitzrayim. I take you out of Mitzrayim. What I tried to say before, these are the souls of the children of Israel that are coming into Egypt with Yaakov. So the coming into Egypt is eventually in order for the exodus from Egypt. Right?
It's a comment that probably maybe, not to answer now, but just throw it out anyway. And it's supported by everything you've just said. I fail to understand why Bina is 50. Why isn't it Chachma?
What's the difference? Bina's understanding and Chachma is understanding also, right?
It's a different understanding. It's a different experience. It's a different experience.
What Chachma is Kop, that you have Kop, and Bina is no?
Bina is understanding exactly what you've said. Chachma is something in its entirety. The experience of things in its essence, with all its potential. Bina is, as Gedalia would say, unpacking of Chachma, which can be done in many, many different ways, but it's understanding what's within it, what's its potential, and bringing it out in different ways. And everything we say, why isn't Chachma the 50th gate?
Okay, so the answer is in some of the texts that I brought in the Haggadah, especially the first one called Pre-Chaim. But another way is that it's a relative system. It's Bina relative to the 7 lower Sfirot. Is a Chochma. But the Chochma as opposed to Chochma. It's Chochma, it's Ein Sof coming, it's Ein Sof coming down through Keter Chochma into Bina. Because those 3, Keter, Chochma, Bina, constitute the head of the system of Sfirot. From there down, the lower 7, right? The closest to the 7 is Mami, is Ima. She's the one who spreads her wings over the lower 7. She lifts them up into herself when they need it. And then she puts them back down when they've been permeated with her light. So,
what does Keter mean?
Keter, what does Keter mean? Crown.
But
doesn't help very much.
How does crown do it? Excepting that maybe on the top, if she'll come with her wings, whatever, and then on the top will be her crown, and maybe, as you said, she'll surround her children with her wings, and like with the Bina, with the understanding, and with the Chochma, maybe like that. I don't know. I'm trying to.
Good try. Excellent. It's just larger and larger systems of Hashem. Starts from up above, and comes down into a world where there's consequences and where there's problems, when there's Paro and when there's Kafka and his palace, and you have to go in and go from one office to the other, which is exactly how Israel works. And they say, no, you that other paper. And we said, well, you didn't tell me, and I came from Tel Aviv, and now I go back. Sorry, sir, that's the way the system works. Well, that's Kafka, right? That's Mitzrayim. That's red tape. What Ima does is she picks us up above that, and she makes. And then when she puts us down, what's supposed to happen is Mitzrayim has become Eretz Yisrael. Is that the physical world becomes, which is Klipa, is supposed to become a physical world. the burning bush, burning with Hashem's light permeating it.
Are we going to do that in meditation?
We got to do it.
Can we do that in meditation?
I want to ask one question.
Don't
okay?
do it too many
No,
times,
not too
please.
long. No, just one little question. They're going to take me into the Tachlis Mazit. I need to get back to the Shemesh when I leave here. How do I get? Is there another?
It's not fair. It's
No,
not.
because I couldn't get to the.
You can't ask that here. If you need to leave,
No, thank you.
but please don't take the climbing class for such a thing.
Okay.
It's not fair.
Okay.
God bless you.
Amen.
Everybody should be like popping their spark plugs with ideas and understandings, and the fact that you're all holding back is beautiful. You should, in a beach, we'd all be talking at the same time, because what we want is when the light hits us, then we start to be able to have wow moments.
Yeah.
And that is what I'm trying to say is what Pesach is. And what he's saying here, the way we're going, we're not going to finish it, but it's fine, have it, is they understood that Passover, it represents a level called Mochin de Gadlut, of an expanded sense of the vastness of the drama within which Hashem has placed us. And the Mitzrayim part falls away, like we said last week. The Mitzrayim Paro, vision of Paro's attempt to squish us, to oppress us, falls away, and we're totally in a world of freedom on Leil Pesach. So he's describing it in his own way. And the surprise ending, we've already alluded to it. The surprise ending is when the student, and they say, rabbis, the room is filled with light already. And it wasn't literally, because it was dark. But when the student said this with such excitement, the room is filled with light. You did it. You brought it down. It was the light of the redemption. You've done it. You've brought it down. We feel it. And we didn't even know what you're doing, but just feel light in the room. That's the meaning of Higia Zman Shel Kriyat Shema Shel Shachrit. The morning dawn of redemption has come, and we feel it. And so that's why this Haggadah experience, again, and I want to say again, it's not just that they talked all night. It can't be that. We can't reduce it to that. Just to tell and to relate, but it becomes much, much more subtle until it becomes silent for hours at a time. And then we come back and we look at each other and we know this is what we've been brought into.
But then you can say Shema from your book on unity. Shema is that recognition that everything is all fault, like it's all fake. It's only God. There's nothing else between.
The illusion.
The illusion is not.
The illusion falls away, and we see that it's all.
That's what they're going to say.
So they say Echad, yeah. They live in the Echad, or they have a moment of Echad. However we want to say it.
Seems like a very long time, very long. Being that light thing, or being filled with it, and able to function with it.
True.
You mean till today? We can then till today.
So the
we're still keeping Seder. It's unbelievable. It's one of the few things that Jews still do.
But Celia is emphasizing the fact that they brought down the redemption light. Knew where's the redemption, and Rebecca is emphasizing the fact that we're still doing it. We're still doing it. They succeeded. So we're still.
We do Pesach. It's one of the. It's still one of the
things. And they can't squash us.
A lot of Jews do Pesach. It's like one of these. No, but they still Pesach's like just one of among really unaffiliated Jews. They still do Pesach.
Okay, but what we want is a little bit even more. Okay, I'm not satisfied. I'm like Celia. Top of the back of the page. Knowing light is awakened each year, and that the holy supernal wellsprings above are opened on this night. They counseled together and they came to a unanimous agreement in their heart, a good and of action, namely to draw down the great illumination that shone on that first Pesach night and that shines every year. They agreed to draw that redemption light down into their present exile night darkness, so that it would illuminate all future generations of Jews throughout the entire exile. That's what it means. That's what the addition in brackets is what throughout the entire exile is the night. It's called night. So when it's said over and over, Kol Oto HaLayla, Sipur Mis Kol Oto HaLayla, they were shining into that darkness of that night. The dogs come out. They therefore gathered together precisely in Bnei. For in addition to the Bnei Brak literally means children of the lightning, which is so beautiful, right? So he didn't want to bring that out. He said the word Bar Kai refers to the first dawn of morning light. That's the proof that he brought. So that's why that's in brackets. But he brings Bar Kai is a word in the Gemara and Yoma that means dawn of morning light, alluding to the great illumination of the light of Yetziat Mitzrayim that shines each year on Pesach night. They went to Bnei Brak because that's what they wanted down. They wanted to make it real, to bring it down. They therefore ascended with their minds, which is called mochin in Hebrew, or therefore they ascended with the expanded mochin that were granted them on that night. They ascended, one way or the other, they ascended up to the source of this light. That's so important. There's a spatial metaphor here. Just like our brain stem is higher, our spine, and our head is atop our shoulders. So the is up and down. It's not the only metaphor. It is a metaphor because going in and out. It's not anything but here and now. But the metaphor that's easiest for us is that they went up into the higher stratospheres of their own consciousness to access the source of within themselves. They therefore ascended with the expanded mochin that were granted them on that night up to the source of this light, lisaper, to become infused with the light of Yetziat Mitzrayim, the light of Bina, the world to come, illumination down into the night in which the dark night of the Roman exile. They ascended so that they could draw down mochin ila'in and shefa elokut, higher consciousness, divine flow from those higher expansions into the Jewish soul to illuminate us and give us strength to go on to the very end of this exile. They did this so that we, the Jewish people, would not sink, God forbid, into oblivion in the klipot, which are infamous for attaching themselves when we are in a state of mochin dekatnu. These are beautiful ideas, but I'm not going into them. They ascended in order to open the wellsprings of chokhmah and shefa elokut that have no end and are never exhausted. They did all through the miracle of this, on which the supernal holy wellsprings were opened in Mitzrayim and continue to open to this day. This is beautiful. You need to do this yourself and try and drink in some of what he's saying here.
How do you do it if you don't understand those concepts you're using?
So the idea of the wellsprings of Chokhmah and Shefa Elokut that have no end and are never exhausted may be based on a beautiful teaching of Baal Shem Tov on the verse Torat Adonai Temima Mishivat Nafesh. Psalm 19, the Torah of Hashem is pure and whole. It restores the soul. Why can it restore the soul? Because, he says, of all the sages and prophets who learned Torah and who drew from the wellsprings of Torah for the thousands of years that we've had it, they have only drawn an infinite now of the inexhausted wellspring of the Torah. And that's why it's Mishivat Nefesh. That's why it has the ability, because no matter how much we draw from it, it's inexhaustible and it's always more. And that's why it's Mishivat Nefesh soul. So again, even that, you might say, well, I don't get that. That's not part of my... the way I do it is I learn these words. I try and get into them, and they become for me the wellsprings that I draw from. So you're right. It's a distance of a few hundred years between us and him. But picture it in yourself. There's wellsprings within you. You're an ima. You're a bina, vis-a-vis your son, vis-a-vis your whole life you're on Pesach night, you're asking Hashem to draw down into yourself the wherewithal, the courage, the wisdom, the understanding, the love, the ability to give, the ability to be there for others that you all and more. It's a reconnection to replenish yourself and to become more powerful than you've been. So that's it. So let's do the meditation. Whatever the burning bush of the room that we're in, with your eyes closed and sitting up straight, and the sense that we're in a physical room, but we're not just in the physical room. As my dear friend Gutman Locks says, where are we? We're in Yerushalayim. Where's Yerushalayim? The Middle East. Where's the Middle East? Planet Earth. Where's planet Earth? Solar system. Where's the solar system? The Milky Way galaxy. Where are we? We're in the Milky Way galaxy. We're not just on Rehov Hagilboa, number 18. We're in existence that expands as the farthest reaches. We're in eternity. And we experience ourselves here in this room, in this little place. But our minds, with the knowledge that we have, we can open up windows. So just allow that happen to us. Give it to your children, grandchildren. Bequeath it to the nation that needs it so much. The confusion that is rampant. The false ideas. We say, Al ken nikavelach Adonai Eloheinu lirot mehera b'tiferet uzach. Or nikavelach Hashem Elokeinu lirot mehera b'tiferet uzecha. Hashem, we want to see the full glory of your light revealed. Laha'avir gilulim min ha'aretz. And then all of the elilim, all of the false idols and false ideologies and lies, they can't exist in the light, and the power of the light, it just dispels them. The lights get turned on. May that light be turned on within each one of us. May our service to you be a pure service of pure, amazing acknowledgement of the amazing miracle of our lives. That we exist before we came to this life. We will exist in eternity, but this life is our chance to do something that we've never been able to do before. And it's hard, and you're making it hard for us, but we know that with your help we can do it. And the light of Shabbat shining down, the light of the great Shabbat shining down into us, is lifting us up. The cloud have no chance against the power of our souls. And then when each and every soul, one after the other, wakes up, the power of the Klippa will go up to Shemayim and say, what's going on? I put all my energy into these people, and now they're rebelling against me. They're waking up to God, and not just religion. They're waking up to the real thing. And God says, well, I told you, that's going to be towards the end. There's not going to be any illusions anymore. It's all going to be taken away. Everybody who's doing anything bad, white collar, blue collar, whatever, all going to be exposed as the light begins to shine more and more powerfully. Welcome the light. Ask for the light to come in. Lecha dodi lekrat kala, b'nei Shabbat nikabela. Lecha dodi lekrat kala, b'nei Shabbat nikabela. Na 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 na. na 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 b'nei Shabbat nekabela. Aha, shamo bezacho. Na 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 bedibur echad. Na 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 na. Ishmi'anu el meyuchad. Na 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 Adonai echad. Na 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 ushmo echad. Na 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 na. L'shem u'letiferet ve'letila. Ay na 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 na. Ay na 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 na. Na 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 na. Ay na na na. Ay na 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 na.
Have any relevance for like a Shabbat? You say hello to Shabbat with light. We light candles on Shabbat. We have Haggadah candles. We end Shabbat. We like the beginning of going into it and the ending of it is lights.
Lights.
I don't know what to make of it.
Well, the light that when you're lighting those candles and going down, you're bringing that down into the world. You're doing a positive action to bring Shabbat into your home. Right? The sun is still above the treetops, the Mishnah says. Shabbat right now. You're going beyond time. It's not going to be now determined by the sun setting. It's determined by your bringing in. You're closing your eyes and you're bringing the Shabbat in. The Havdalah is different. Havdalah is then looking at your fingernails, looking at the light of the Havdalah candle, and it's reflected off your nails, so to speak, to say, this is take of it. Take as much as I can into the wheat of the reflection of this great light. That's what Hashem did. The Midrash says, when it says in the person, the Torah, Vayar Elohim et ha'or ki tov, and Hashem saw the light that it was good. He saw the light of Shabbat. He said, this light is so good. I want to give it. I want to make it that it can be given to somebody. And so he Yavdel Elohim ben ha'or ben, and he made Havdalah. And he was in Shabbos. This is beautiful midrash. Hashem was in Shabbat, meaning to say he was in only godliness. There was nothing else but. He says, oh, I want to give this to somebody. And I'm going to Havdalah now to separate off just enough to make a world. The Sefer Rabbi here says 6/7 of the light was pulled back and held back, and only the world was made with 1/7 of the light. The truth is 1/billionth, but whatever. And then when they are worthy, at the end of the 6 days, I want to give them the other 6/7. But it didn't happen. So now we're waiting for the 7th millennium to receive the 6/7. But the idea of light, we are surrounded by light, we are permeated by light, it's just that it's hidden. There's a verse at the end of the second paragraph of Shema where it says, L'man yirvu yimechem, so that their days will be prolonged. V'mei benechem, and their days of their children. Al ha'adama, on the land, when they come back to the land after coming back from exile. Their children will be prolonged. Al ha'adama shinshba Hashem latet lahem, to give to them, which means resurrection, because it's not just give to the children, it's give to them that were mentioned. Latet lehem kimei shamayim al aretz. So the kimei shamayim al aretz, like the days of the heaven, what does that mean? He's going to give us the pshat. The pshat is going to be an endless time of messianic era into the 7th millennium and 8th millennium that Hashem is to like the days of the heavens over the earth. So I felt that wasn't enough. It really means like the days when heaven was on earth, which is the Garden of Eden. We lost it and heaven went up to heaven and earth stayed with earth and heaven became hidden within earth. But then now, when the Mashiach comes, the light of heaven have been here the whole time, and it's going to be amplified immensely, and it will be like the days of heaven when it was on earth, not just in earth and not just above earth. So we're asking for a lot. We're making sure that when we say a word, we want to know what it means, and we want to have a good picture of it and ask for it in the most meaningful and powerful way. We want heaven on earth right now. We want heaven and earth to meet. We want the earth to be filled and permeated with the light of heaven and no longer hidden. So that's what we're talking about. That's what the Haggadah is about. That's what the time leading up to the Messianic era is going to try and stop that. It's going to try and say, no, it can't happen. We're going to try and derail it. We're going to hijack it, the light. And Hashem says, you can't do that anymore. As it gets stronger and stronger, and more people will recognize it. We're at a very, very crucial moment right now. It seems that the cards are still stacked against us. Things are going on in the world where evil is very active and trying to do everything it can to hijack and derail. The Messianic process that we've started to learn about in this class, the Mashiach ben Yosef, Mashiach ben David, Moshe Rabbeinu, all three of them, plus Eliyahu Navi, is in full action also, but it's still hidden. We're learning about it, but it's still something a little bit too distant from us. We don't understand how to do it. Please, Hashem, help us to impact, that it should impact us much more deeply, that every holiday that we go through now, whether it's Purim or Pesach or Shavuot, we should internalize more and more this higher level that you want to give to us, that we should be able to be truly the Am Yisrael that you want us to be.
Can we also
Okay.
say, can we learn for Chaya Rezel
Bat
Rachel
Rachel Devora,
She had an operation.
Refuah Shlema, and Refuah Shlema to everybody who needs it, and Ilui Neshama, anybody who needs it.
And also we need to dive for Chaya Bas, 1 second, Chaya Bas Naftali.
Chat Naftali,
Please.
Refuah Shlema.
We're asking for her, for Hashem to change the situation in her hospital, because she actually saved my life.
God bless.